So I honestly don't know if I was quite ready for this purchase, but it's here, the game is installed, and I finally got a PS5 to play Final Fantasy XVI. You are gonna be surprised to know that I was not super excited for Final Fantasy XVI, nor was I not excited for Final Fantasy 16. Final Fantasy 16 is gonna be an interesting game for me to tackle. It's one of the very few games I can think of in recent memory where I don't have a lot of expectations for this, and I don't mean that in a bad way, right? I don't mean like I have low expectations. Like as a Final Fantasy fan, you're gonna hear this a lot, that 16 is the first game that we've been excited for since, Final Fantasy X or whatever, right? A lot of people feel like 10 and was the last true good Final Fantasy, and I totally understand that sentiment. The first 10 Final Fantasies are quite special, that is true. And then after that, 11 is an MMO I've never played. 12 is something also I haven't played, but people say it's a good game. 13 I just didn't enjoy, it just wasn't my thing. 14 I don't want to play because it's an MMO, because I don't know if I want to invest that much time into it. And I'm actually one of the very few people that will defend Final Fantasy 15. There's just so much about Final Fantasy that I love, and one of the best things about Final Fantasy 16 for me is that I don't know too much about it. The only trailer I've seen was that very first trailer that they showed off years ago, actually, where they showed Clive for the first time, and I saw a boy, I think his name was Joshua or something, and then I just saw Phoenix and Ifrit fighting, and I'm assuming that's Clive and Joshua, maybe, I don't know. I know in this game that you can transform into a summon, but I don't know how accurate that is, because I also seen an image of Clive and the summon Ifrit separate, so I don't know what's going on in this game. These are all things that I'm excited about because it seems like a very interesting story, a very interesting premise, and it's made by a team that clearly has a sense of direction this time, right? Again, the best thing about it is that I don't know much about it, and I can't say that. I haven't been able to say that about a game for quite some time. Even games like Kingdom Hearts 3 or, Final Fantasy 15 or Final Fantasy VII Remake, right? There was like all of these trailers that spoiled something, and that's another reason why I avoided like the trailers as well, because I felt like I was gonna be spoiled. But there was all these trailers for these games, and I was just kind of thinking to myself, is it really like worth watching these trailers if I'm gonna like deprive myself of experiencing some of these visuals firsthand without looking at the trailer and seeing them in the context of the story. Of course, I miss turn-based combat, but I love action combat too. I was willing to give Final Fantasy 15 a shot, and I love the Kingdom Hearts series, as you guys know. So, obviously, like, 16 being action-based is not the most disappointing thing, but it seems to be going heavily action-based. So we'll see how that turns out. I'm not saying that that's something I'm necessarily worried about, because I know they have a great team behind it. I heard it's the team that worked on DMC and all that stuff, so that's going to be great. But I also just don't know. It's one of those things I just don't know until I play it, and I haven't seen anything, I haven't played anything. I don't really know much about this game, so I'm going to have to give you guys some updates, maybe some first impressions in a future video. The only other concern, or I wouldn't say concern, it's just something I don't know how I feel about at this moment quite yet, is that the Final Fantasy XIV team seems to be working on this game, or at least a lot of members of the team that work on Final Fantasy XIV is working on Final Fantasy XVI. And I think that's great in a lot of ways, because I know that they put out quality stuff. I haven't played 14 myself, but everyone that plays 14, talks about how amazing it is and how it feels just like a Final Fantasy, like all the other entries in the series. That being said, now that team is working on a single player RPG, I don't know how that's going to turn out. I'm assuming it's going to turn out great, just because I know a lot of people are raving about these reviews, but we also have to keep in mind that a lot of people raved about Final Fantasy 15 when it came out, and I was one of them. But then there was also a large community of players that just did not like the game, right? And it was the same thing with Final Fantasy 13, right? When that came out, great reviews all around from like the big publishers. But then later on, it was like one of the most controversial entries in the series. So I don't know. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see how 16 is going to feel with the rest of the Final Fantasy fan base, but I'm confident that it's going to be a great game. There was something special about those first 10 entries in the series, and it really had to do with the series creator, right? And ever since he stepped down, I feel like the series has kind of gone in so many directions. It's gone up in quality, down in quality, it's maybe even confused in some places. It's just gone all over the place. So it's nice to see that we have a very consistent vision with a consistent team that cares about it. My question is it gonna feel like a Final Fantasy game? With it being action-based and a few other elements, I don't know if that's gonna be the case, but let's just see if it's gonna be an amazing RPG, just nonetheless. I'm very excited to play this game, and I'm gonna keep you guys updated on my thoughts. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys about this. I'll give you guys some first impressions. Look forward to my Tears of the Kingdom review discussion video coming up and my ranking of the Final Fantasy series. Can't wait to talk to you soon. Take care.